What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my full card breakdown and predictions for UFC 261. We have Kamaru Usman going against Jorge Masvidal. Number 2 here, the rematch where Masvidal is coming in here not on 6 days notice this time. He gets a full training camp to prepare for Kamaru Usman. So I do expect a more competitive fight than last time. Can't wait to break that down, along with 2 other title fights. We have Zhang Weili going against Namajunas, and then we have Valentina Shevchenko going against Jessica Andrade. 3 great title fights. I'm looking forward to them. And then also on the main card, the pay-per-view portion of the card, we have Uriah going against Weidman, which is a very good fight there. And then Jimmy Crute, Anthony Smith to open it up. Should be an all-out war. So yeah, I'll have no problem laying down the $70 to purchase this pay-per-view. I think it's a very good pay-per-view card. As far as the rest of the card goes, the prelims, they're interesting. We have a lot of newcomers. We have Rong, we have Iori Kuling, we have Jeff Molina making his UFC debut, we have Liang making her UFC debut. So lots of newcomers, lots of fighters that you may not know about, but going to be breaking it down. And really looking forward to the card. I think the card's going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot of finishes. I think it's a great card for betting as well. And, speaking of betting, I have 7 bets on this card already. I have a ton of action. I was able to research the card last week. I was able to finish up all my research on a Monday, which is fantastic. And yeah, like I said, I have 7 bets and probably going to be adding maybe a couple more as well. So if you do want instant access to those bets, the lines are moving really fast here. If you do want to sign up, check out the Patreon, $10 a month. You do get access to my model with all the stats. You get access to my betting breakdown videos, my article, access to Discord, early access to my bets, all that good stuff. But I will be talking about all my bets on Friday on the live stream, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And I'm also doing a live stream on Saturday, 1 hour before the fight time. Going to start doing that every single week. Last week, get it on a little bit of short notice. A lot of people showed up, so going to be continuing to do that. Just chat it up with you guys on a Saturday before the fights. Get ready for the fights there. And it is a pay-per-view, so going to be doing, as always, the contest. First, it is the Significant Strike Contest. To enter the contest, first, leave a like on the video. Next, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And then third, comment down how many significant strikes you think that Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal is going to combine for. Winner gets $25. If there is a tie, it's going to be the first person that commented, as always. And then the second contest is going to be the DraftKings contest. To enter, first, leave a like. Second, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And then third, leave down your DraftKings username. You are allowed to enter both. $25 to the first place winners of each. I've given out well over $1,000 since I've been doing this, and hopefully continue to keep doing it. Just something to show thanks for all the support week in and week out. But yeah, once we got all that out of the way, I think it's time to break down UFC 261, a card I'm looking forward to, a card that I have a ton of action on, and hopefully make some money on. A 4-fight winning streak from a betting perspective would be amazing to make it 5, especially on a card where I have so much action on it. So we will start with the first fight of the night. We have a very interesting fight. We have Carnelossi going against Liang. Carnelossi, she is 28 years old, 5'2", 61-inch reach, 61.5-inch reach, 12-2, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Liang, she is 24 years old, 5'9", 67.5-inch reach, 15-4, and 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So yeah, Liang is going to be one of the few fighters we have on this card from China. And right off the bat, you notice that she's young, and we'll see a couple other fighters like this. She's young, and she has a ton of fights. She has 19 fights, and it's always a massive concern when you see these fighters with a lot of fights, and there's not much footage of it. There's not enough footage to watch. I mean, I think I've seen maybe 3 or 4 fights from Liang. So I think that's always a really big red flag. And then you go look at the competition of Liang, and it is like bottom of the barrel. She has fought some fighters that were in the UFC, but still, for the most part, she is fighting some very low-level fighters. She lost to Shakarova, somebody that made her UFC debut a couple months ago. She lost to Maria Agapova, somebody that's in the UFC as well. So she has fought some decent fighters, but mostly it is honestly a lot of cans. And we'll get into the matchup a little bit more, but first I want to take a look at the odds for this fight. Yeah, very interesting here. Carnelossi opened up -160. She's now -200. Liang opened up +130. She's now +170. So a lot of money's coming in on Carnelossi. I don't see why really anybody would bet on this fight, really. But as far as Carnelossi goes, she did make her UFC debut against Angela Hill. Decent performance. I mean, she got outlanded like 90-70. She got pieced apart, and there's a lot of things that we should be worrying about going forward with Carnelossi. Like, her striking defense is very, very bad. She's very hittable. But there's also some good things I like about her. She's very aggressive. She's very small as well. Liang's going to have a 7-inch height advantage. She's also going to have like a 6.5-inch reach advantage. But Carnelossi, she is jacked city. Yes, she's very short, but she is very, very strong. Went through and watched every single fight I could of Carnelossi. I think I watched like 6 or 7 fights and didn't see her taken down once. Very good takedown defense, and her striking's, she's powerful, she's dangerous, and she comes forward, she's aggressive, she looks for that finish. So I think this fight's going to be very good because you look at Liang Na, and she's someone who, to call her one-dimensional is an understatement. She is somebody that, in the fights I watch, I didn't see her throw one strike on the feet, not one strike. As soon as the fight starts, she goes for a takedown, she's relentless with it, and she, goes all out for that takedown. If she does not get it, she loses. If she does get it and she's not able to get the submission, she loses. She gasses out. She kind of quits. And I don't know. I think this is a very low-level fight. Maybe not as low-level as the Zara Farron-Nunez fight that we were supposed to see last week. But regardless, it's a low-level fight that really nobody should be betting on. I'm going to take Carnelossi to stuff the takedowns, but I don't know. Liang's going to be much bigger, but at the same time, like if she does not get those takedowns, she's going to get absolutely destroyed on the feet by Carnelossi. And like I said, Carnelossi is maybe not the best striker, maybe not best defensively with their striking, but that's something you really don't have to worry about here. So I think Liang maybe does get a takedown or two, but if she does not get Carnelossi out there in the first round, I do think she's going to gas out, maybe quit. I see a Carnelossi, I'm going to say second round KO win for Carnelossi. Really good finisher there. We have seen Liang finished quite a few times. She's been finished in 3 over 4 losses, twice by submission, once by knockout. And Liang has a 100% finish rate. In 19 fights, she has finished all of her wins, all 15 of her wins. So she's kill or be killed. She's kill or be killed. Either she gets that first round sub or she loses, and I'm more leaning towards the Carnelossi knockout in this fight. But would I bet on Carnelossi? No, never, especially at minus 200. But it should be a fun, exciting fight that probably does end inside the distance one way or another. But I'm going to take Carnelossi to win by late second round knockout after Liang gasses out. All right, interesting fight here. We have Iori Kulang going against Jeff Molina, another fighter from China here in Iori. Iori is 27 years old, 5'7", 69.5-inch reach, 18-6, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Another instance where he has a ton of fights, not much footage with these fights. I think I was able to see literally like 3 fights of Iori here. His level of competition is very questionable there. And then you got Jeff Molina, 23 years old, going to be 4 years younger, 5'6", 69-inch reach, 8-2 and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Yeah, Molina training with James Krause and Glory MMA and Fitness. This is such a tough fight to call. I don't think there's much, data on this fight, not much footage on the Iori side. From what I see from Iori, and like I said, I was able to watch 3 fights that lasted maybe 5 minutes each. In all 3 of those fights, he was able to get the finish. His striking's decent. I saw him get a couple takedowns. There's just a lot unknown about the guy. The guy's been submitted 3 times as well. And we take a look at the odds here. It's probably right where they should be. It's a straight pick, a minus 110 each way. I already actually opened up a favorite at minus 125, so some money's coming in on the Molina side. I get it. He's training at a good camp, and I really like what I see from the ground game of Molina. I believe he's a purple belt in BJJ. Like I said, training with James Krause at Glory MMA and Fitness. I think if he is able to get takedowns, he can have success here, and he's very good at top, very, very good on top, very good at going for submissions, decent ground and pound. It's just I haven't seen Iori off his back. That's the only reason I'd probably, stay away from a betting perspective. If I was able to see more of Iori's fights, maybe see him off his back a little bit. But like I said, the dude has 24 fights. You really can't get access to watch a lot of those. I'm going to take Molina. I'm not going to bet this fight as nobody really should with this limited, tape out there. But I do see Iori has been finished 6 times. Well, has been finished 3 times, all 3 by submission. I'm going to say Molina wins by submission. It's just you can't be overly confident. But I will say he gets a takedown and finds the finish on the mat there. So I'm going to give me Jeff Molina. Like I said, not much confidence in it because you really can't be confident with the limited tape and the limited information on Iori. But I'm going to take Molina to win by sub. I really do like his ground game. All right, here we have Rong Zhu going against Rodrigo Vargas, another guy from China. 3 China fighters in a row. In another instance where, not a lot of tape on this guy, but I think there's a decent amount, more than like Iori, more than Liang. And yeah, I think Rong Zhu is a very, very decent prospect here, sitting at 21 years old, 5'11", 72.5-inch reach. He's going to be 3 inches taller. He's going to have about 1.5 inches of reach on Vargas here. He is 17-3. and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. The guy has been fighting since he was like 15 and a half, 16 years old. So 20 fights already, and the dude's 21 years old. So very interesting there. You got Vargas, who is going to be, 14 years older, 35 years old, 5'8", 71.5-inch reach, 11-4, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And Rong Zhu is -255, open up -250. Vargas is +215, open up +190. So Vargas came in his last fight against Brock Weaver. I believe he was a decent-sized dog in that fight, and he was looking good. He was looking good early. He was able to take down Brock Weaver, and then he hit him with one of the nastiest disqualification knees I've ever seen in my life. I mean, Brock Weaver was clearly sitting on the mat. The dude just knees him in the face. Brock Weaver goes out for a second. Fight's called off. Brock Weaver wins by disqualification. And that was a nasty knee, a legal knee by Vargas. But he was having success prior to that. But then again, I don't rate Brock Weaver all that well. And then against Alex De Silva, he was a decent-sized dog in that one as well. Alex De Silva was able to take him down, control him for long periods of that fight. And just, I don't know, I think Rong Zhu probably should win this fight. I do think he's this big of a favorite for a reason. I think in the striking, he's going to have a pretty solid advantage. Vargas with his striking, just a little bit low output, very wild with the strikes. I think Rong Zhu is going to be the much more technical striker, probably the harder hitter as well. I like Rong Zhu to win. If he can get a takedown on Vargas, I think he can have a lot of success. Rong Zhu has some serious ground and pound. I really like his game when he's on top. So I'm actually going to take Rong Zhu to win by finish. Rong Zhu has finished the majority of his fights, 89% finish rate. He has been submitted 3 times. Vargas, 91% finish rate, 64% by knockout, 27% by submission. And Vargas has been submitted before. So neither guy has been knocked out. But I will say Rong Zhu knocks out Rodrigo Vargas here. Yeah, I think this guy may be the real deal. 20 fights, and the dude's 21. Like, that is just crazy to think about. The guy's been fighting since he was like 15 and a half, 16. But I'm going to take Rong Zhu to win this fight. I'm going to say he wins by second-round knockout. I just don't rate Rodrigo Vargas all that high. I think he's going to go 0-3 in the UFC. All right, a fight that I'm really looking forward to. We have Batgerel going against Kevin Natividad. Batgerel, 31 years old, 5'7", 70-inch reach, 8-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Kevin Natividad, 28 years old, 5'6", 70-inch reach, 9-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. And we will take a look at the odds here and some insane line movement on this fight. Batgerel opened up -150, currently -185. And Kevin Natividad opened up +120, currently +160. So a lot of people on Dana here, a lot of people betting him as well. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. I like Dana here quite a bit. You look at Kevin Natividad, and in his UFC debut against Miles Johns, I picked him in that fight against Johns, which in hindsight it looks awful. But the reason why I picked him was because on the regional scene, his takedown defense looked legit. It looked phenomenal. He goes in there against Miles Johns, and it looked phenomenal as well. He was able to stuff every single takedown from Miles Johns. He was able to stuff 7 takedowns of Miles Johns, who is a very good wrestler. That was fantastic. That's what I wanted. I thought maybe then he can piece apart Miles Johns on the feet, and then you look at the striking, and Natividad's striking just looked horrible. I mean, he was a completely different fighter than he was on the regional scene. And I don't know, like, was he on the juice on the regional scene? Is that why he looked so good? And then he comes to the UFC with USADA and all that, and he looks like it was terrible. I mean, his striking defense is awful. He does not put his hands up. You know, Miles Johns was able to jab him up all fight. Every time Miles Johns threw a strike, it seemed like it looked like it was landing. Natividad was running into the strikes of Miles Johns. And then, what do you know? In the 3rd round, Miles Johns knocks out Natividad. Miles Johns is a wrestler. I mean, I thought that Natividad probably should have outstruck him, but it really wasn't even close. And then you have Natividad landing only 33 strikes against Miles Johns. He threw 142. That's a 24% accuracy. That is a 24% accuracy. That is absolutely horrible. So, yeah, I don't like Natividad here. I'm more on the Batgerel side, who Dana's a very good striker. I think what Dana is going to have to worry about here is going to be the takedowns of Natividad. But even then, you go look at the tape of Natividad. Yes, he can get takedowns, but his control is not that great. And Dana does not accept being on his back. He's very hard to take down. And if he does get taken down, he works his way back up to his feet right away. He's very active on his back as well. So, you know, on the feet, I favor Dana here quite a bit. Kevin Natividad, he just looks so bad against Miles Johns, the wrestler. I think Dana has to know, throw that jab out there. It's going to land every time. And you can maybe get away with being hittable against guys in the regional scene. You can get away with being hittable against Miles Johns for 2.5 rounds. I don't think you can get away with being hittable against Dana Batgerel. This guy can crack. Really good finisher. And I think that exactly that's going to happen. I think Dana Batgerel is going to get a knockout in the second round against Natividad, who Natividad has been knocked out in both of his losses, and Batgerel has finished half his wins by knockout. So I'm going to take Dana Batgerel to win by second round knockout. And yeah, as we can see, a ton of money's coming in on the guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he hit the minus 200 mark by the way it's looking. I see on some books he's like minus 190, minus 195. So a lot of love for Dana. I get it. No problem fading Natividad here, so give me Dana Batgerel for the win. Should be a fun fight. I think it's going to be interesting. All right, another interesting fight here. We have Pat Sabatini going against Tristan Connelly. We have Pat Sabatini. He's 30 years old, 5'8", 13-3, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Tristan Connelly, 35 years old, 5'10", 68-inch reach, 14-6, and 5-0 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And we have Pat Sabatini, opened up minus 245, currently minus 230. And we have Connelly opened up plus 185, currently plus 190. So Connelly came in to the UFC against Michel Pereira, where he was a plus 400 underdog. I mean, the UFC brought Connelly in there more than likely to get Pereira a highlight win. And Pereira, if you go back and watch that fight, which is probably one of the more hilarious fights I've ever seen. Pereira is, dancing prior to the start of the fight. He's doing backflips during the fight. He gasses out after that first round. Connelly starts to look very good. He starts to take down Pereira, control him for long periods of time. And Pereira, he has nothing after that first round because he was doing backflips. He was running around for some reason, and that's just what Pereira does. But Connelly looked very good. But we got to remember, Michel Pereira was completely gassed out in that fight. So, good win there. Big upset win there. I mean, it got me. I didn't bet on Pereira or nothing like that, but I did pick him in it. And I don't think anybody picked Connelly in that fight, but it was just a bad look for Michel Pereira. But good win for Connelly. We just got to remember that Michel Pereira literally gassed himself out after that first round. And then we got Pat Sabatini, who a lot of people might not know about. I mean, this guy is legit. I think this guy honestly is the real deal. He's a black belt in BJJ. Both guys are black belts. You take a look at it from a striking perspective. This guy's striking, it's a work in progress, but I do think it's much better than Connelly's. Connelly's striking is just not great. Pat Sabatini, I've seen him knock guys out. So I do favor him in the striking. When it comes to the wrestling, I believe Sabatini has some type of wrestling background, and you can definitely see it in his fights. This guy is very hard to take down. On the flip side, Connelly's somebody that, welcomes the takedown. He's very confident in that ground game where you see Sabatini stuffing the takedowns, going for takedowns himself. So I think when it comes to the wrestling, I favor Sabatini as well. I favor Sabatini in the striking. And honestly, I favor Sabatini in the grappling as well. So really, I like Sabatini pretty much everywhere. I think there's going to be some people out there taking Connelly because he did pull it upset against Michel Pereira. But again, I mean, Sabatini's not going to be doing backflips in the cage. He's not going to be dancing, doing a full dance routine before the fight. I think Sabatini is going to come out here, not finish Connelly. Maybe he does, but I don't think he's going to finish him. But I just think dominate him throughout 3 rounds. Give me Pat Sabatini on the feet. Like I said, Sabatini's favor. Wrestling-wise, I think Sabatini can get on top, do some damage. I don't know if he's going to sub him, like I said, but I think he can get in dominant positions. I'm going to say Sabatini wins a pretty clear-cut decision. Connelly, 35 years old, coming down a weight class to featherweight here, 145. Sabatini is ready. Sabatini was supposed to fight Alves in his last fight. I was actually picking Sabatini in that fight. Alves shows up 10 or 11 pounds overweight. Sabatini was not able to fight, but he's fighting here against Connelly, 35 years old. I'm going to take the younger fighter here, and honestly, I do think Sabatini is legit, the real deal. Black belt, I think he does get the win here by dominant decision. So give me Sabatini for the win. All right, interesting fight here. We have Brendan Allen going against Carl Roberson. Allen is 25 years old, 6'2", 75-inch reach, 15-4, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Carl Roberson, who's 30 years old, 6'1", 74-inch reach, 9-3, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. I do want to get into the stats a little bit, but first we'll take a look at the odds. And we have Brendan Allen opened up minus 150, currently minus 130. We have Carl Roberson opened up plus 120, currently plus 110. So a little bit of money coming in on the Roberson side. And I don't know, we'll take a look at the stats. Brendan Allen, he lands 3.55 significant strikes per minute with a 59% striking accuracy. He does absorb 5.57 with a minus 2.02 strike differential ratio, which that means his opponents on average are outlanding him by 2.02 strikes per 15 minutes, and he has a 39% striking defense, which is horrible. It's really bad. And then we have Carl Roberson, very good kickboxer, averaging 3 significant strikes per minute with a 51% striking accuracy, does absorb 2.42 significant strikes with a 0.58 positive strike differential ratio and a 57% striking defense. As far as the wrestling grappling stats go, and I think this is going to be the story of the fight, is Brendan Allen going to shoot for a takedown? If you told me Brendan Allen is going to go out here and shoot for takedowns, get this fight down to the mat, he's going to make that a priority, I'd probably bet Brendan Allen here at minus 130. It's just we don't know what he's going to do in this fight. I mean, Brendan Allen is somebody that he did not go for takedowns in his last fight against Sean Strickland. Maybe he went for one. He didn't get it, nothing like that, but he got knocked out by Sean Strickland, and really confusing game plan there by Brendan Allen because he needed to get the takedown or he was going to get more than likely knocked out, and that's just what happened. Against Kyle Dawkins, no takedowns in that fight. Against Tom Breeze, technically no takedowns in that fight. His last fight where he got takedowns was against Kevin Holland, and he looked really good in that fight, got a submission there, but if he does not go for takedowns in this fight, he's going to lose. So I really don't know what his game plan is going to be coming in. Hopefully, getting knocked out by Strickland is going to, knock some sense in this guy, and maybe he does go for takedowns in this fight. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. And like I said, we take a look at the grappling stats, and Brendan Allen does land 1.17 with a 37% accuracy, 50% takedown defense. He doesn't have to worry about Roberson shooting takedowns on him, you wouldn't think. Carl Roberson lands about a takedown, 57% accuracy, and Carl Roberson has a 50% takedown defense, which is not great. So Brendan Allen has to know, man, I cannot strike with this guy. I'm probably going to get knocked out. He has to know that this guy, his weakness is the takedown defense. Roberson's weakness is the ground game. You see in Roberson's 3 losses, how does he lose? He loses by submission. What is Brendan Allen really good at? He's really good at, submitting his opponents. Brendan Allen, 86% finish rate, 53% by submission. That's kind of where I'm leaning towards. But like I said, can you trust Brendan Allen to go out there and get takedowns? I don't know. It's not something I'd bet on personally, but I do think if he goes for takedowns, he, in hindsight, could look like minus 300 here. But on the flip side, if he does not go for takedowns, Roberson, in hindsight, probably looks minus 300. But I'm more so leaning towards this guy. Brendan Allen probably goes for takedowns, gets them, and then probably gets a submission. So I'm going to say Brendan Allen wins by submission in the first round. Should be a fun fight. Interesting fight here. We have Dwight Grant versus Stefan Sekulic. We have Dwight Grant is 36 years old, 6'1", 76.5-inch reach, 10-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Stefan Sekulic, he is 29 years old, 6 foot, 75.5-inch reach, 12-3, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here. And Dwight Grant is minus 225, opened up minus 270. Sekulic opened up plus 210, currently plus 185. So there's some money actually coming in on Sekulic, and I definitely agree with that. I think this should be lined a little bit closer. There's some red flags with the Grant side. I mean, he came off of a brutal knockout against Daniel Rodriguez in a fight that, honestly, I watched it back. I didn't think this at the time, but I watched it back, and I thought, man, the ref really could have stopped that fight, a couple different times. I thought the ref could have stopped it like 3 different times. Dwight Grant hurt D-Rod extremely bad, was, throwing a ton of punches, kind of punched himself out after that, and then kind of gassed himself out. D-Rod was able to come forward and knock out Grant himself. And I don't know, the chin could be a concern of Grant at this point after that knockout. The age is definitely a concern of Grant. Maybe the cardio is a concern of Grant as well. Then you have Sekulic, who, 1-0 in the UFC, lost to Ramazan Ameev, I believe, in a decision. And I don't know, Sekulic, it's interesting. We haven't seen him fight in, I want to say, close to 3 years, 2 years and 6 months. So 2.5 years there. He came off of some type of suspension. I was just reading it earlier today, but maybe PEDs, but some type of suspension. So we haven't seen him in a while. It was a 2-year suspension there. And coming against Dwight Grant, I don't know, this Stefan guy, his striking's not great. His striking defense is not great. Very hittable. He's been knocked out, I believe, in one or two fights in his career. And Dwight Grant, I got to give him, the dude has a ton of power. And he's going to be very dangerous very early. Stefan needs to come in here and get takedowns. It's kind of what he's good at, getting takedowns. He's training with Dusko Todorovic, somebody that, decent prospect. I believe Dusko is 10-1, just lost to Soriano, but Dusko, very hyped prospect there. I'm going to say Dwight Grant by knockout here. Dwight Grant by first round knockout. I just have concerns if Sekulic is able to survive that first round and a half, and maybe Sekulic can take over. It's just how hittable he is. The chin is a little bit of a concern. The striking defense is definitely a concern, and Dwight Grant can crack. We saw it in his last fight, and we see it in the majority of his wins. Dwight Grant, when he wins, he does win by knockout. He does have a 70% finish rate, all by knockout as well. Sekulic has a 75% finish rate. Half of his wins are by submission, so maybe he could get Dwight Grant down, but watching the tape on Dwight Grant, his takedown defense is pretty good, 78%, and when he does get taken down, he's really hard to hold down. So I kind of see it hard, especially after like a 2.5-year layoff, coming off of suspension, for Sekulic to come in here and get the win. It's just, I probably wouldn't lay like the minus 250 on Dwight Grant, honestly. So give me Dwight Grant. I'm going to take him to win by first round knockout. I think the under is probably a better look in this fight, but I'm going to say Dwight Grant knocks out Sekulic in that first round. All right, interesting fight here. We have Randy Brown going against Alex Cowboy Oliveira. We have Randy Brown is 30 years old, 6'3", 78-inch reach, 12-4, and 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Alex Oliveira, he is 33 years old, 5'11", 76-inch reach, 22-9, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. We'll take a look at the odds here, and we have Randy Brown opened up minus 170, currently minus 150. Oliveira opened up plus 140, currently plus 130. So a little bit of money coming in on the Oliveira side, and I definitely agree with that. I think this fight should be a little bit closer to a pick'em. This fight is so tough to call because we really don't know what Alex Oliveira is going to show up. I mean, sometimes this guy shows up, he looks fantastic. Other times he shows up, he misses weight. In his last fight, he missed weight by like 3 pounds against Shavkat Rakhmonov. Got submitted in the first round. Sometimes he shows up, he looks really bad. So if the best version of Alex Oliveira does show up, I think he beats Randy Brown here. It's just, we don't know who's going to show up. I mean, the guy has a lot going on outside the cage. The guy has 13, 14 kids, which is insane. But I don't know. That's why it makes it so hard. This is something, a fight that I'm going to pass on for sure. Oliveira is going to be at a 4-inch height disadvantage, a 1.5 reach disadvantage, but Oliveira is somebody that's really good at sticking to the outside, using that range, that length. And as is Randy Brown, I think the striking exchanges are going to be very close. What's interesting to me is going to be the clinches in the ground game. I think Oliveira can, more than likely take down Randy Brown, who has a very good takedown defense, decent get-up game, but he does expose his back when he's getting up. Oliveira does land at 2.41 takedowns per 15 minutes with a 37% accuracy, so I can't see Oliveira getting takedowns. When it comes to the cardio, is another concern for Oliveira. He does slow down as the fight goes on, but you see in the fights where he does slow down, you see in those third rounds where he's still going out there and getting takedowns, fighting hard, and winning some third rounds. So I don't know. I think this fight should be closer to a pick'em. I don't really see why Brown should be this much of a favorite. I'm going to take the underdog here in Oliveira to win a very, very, very close decision, mixing in the takedowns, getting some top control. But this really honestly could go either way, but it's all up to which Oliveira is going to show up. Like I said, if the best version of Oliveira shows up, I do think he wins this fight. If the worst version of Oliveira shows up, he misses weight, he looks bad on the skills, I think it's a close fight. So I'm going to take Oliveira to win. Another concern is that Randy Brown chin. The guy has been knocked down, or not knocked out 2 times. He's been finished in 3 of his 4 losses. He was kind of a meme for the hammer fist from bottom against Nico Price. Was just knocked out by Vicente Luque as well. But I'm going to take Oliveira to win by decision. I think if there's a finish on either side here, maybe it's a Brown sub or maybe it's an Oliveira knockout. I definitely do not see Brown knocking out Oliveira. Oliveira in 32 fights has only been knocked out once. Very good chin. But I do see this going to the scorecards. I do see it being close, and I will side with the dog in Alex Oliveira to win a very close decision. All right, getting into the main card here, the pay-per-view portion of this card. And like I said, I have no problem laying down the $70 for a card like this. And we're going to open it up with a very fun fight. Jimmy Crute going against Anthony Smith. Crute is 25 years old, 6'2", 72.5-inch reach, 12-1, and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. We have Anthony Smith is 32 years old, 6'4", 76-inch reach, 34-16, and 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So yeah, Anthony Smith only 32 years old, but this guy's like 60 in fight years, 50 fights, tons of wars, tons of damage, and I do think it is catching up on him. But we'll get into the odds here. We have Jimmy Crute opened up minus 240, currently minus 190. And Anthony Smith opened up plus 180, currently plus 165. Honestly, I kind of agree with the opener a little bit more. I think Crute should be a little bit bigger of a favorite, but Crute, only 25 years old. I think he's going to be getting better and better each and every fight. We saw in his last fight where he looked absolutely phenomenal against Modestas Bukauskas, was able to knock him out. Brutal knockout in that first round. Prior to that, went out there against Mikhail Olazechuk, took the dude down like 7 or 8 times in the first round, showed some phenomenal wrestling. He also was able to submit Paul Craig in the third round as well, and that's very impressive, being able to submit Paul Craig. And he did have that one, where he got submitted by Misha Serkinov. Really no shame in that. Misha is a very legit grappler. Knocked out Sam Alvey, which is not, the easiest thing to do. But yeah, I'm really impressed with this Jimmy Crute guy. This guy is a phenomenal fighter. I do want to get into the stats, as I do think they're pretty important. And Jimmy Crute does land 4.36 significant strikes per minute, which is a lot more than Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith only landing 2.94. Crute with the 57% accuracy compared to Smith's 46%. And this is where it gets very not good for the Smith side. Crute only absorbs 2.31, so he has a plus 2.05 significant strike differential ratio. That means he's outlanding his opponents, basically 2-1. And then you have Anthony Smith, who has absorbed 4.38 significant strikes per minute with a minus 1.44 significant strike differential ratio. So his opponents on average are outlanding him by 1.44 significant strikes, which is terrible, and is a 42% striking defense as well, which is horrible. So he's very hittable. Crute's not the best defensively as well, but Anthony Smith is definitely there to be hit. They call him Lionheart. The dude's very tough. There's a narrative that this guy's like very hard to put away, very durable, and as of late he has been, but you take a look at Anthony Smith's losses, the guy's been finished in 13 out of his 16 losses. He's been knocked out 9 times. He's been submitted 4 times. I think Crute has a very good chance of getting a finish in this fight. You take a look at the grappling stats. Crute lands 4.33 takedowns per 50 minutes with a 75% takedown accuracy, phenomenal. 60% takedown defense. Anthony Smith lands about half a takedown per 15 minutes, 28% takedown accuracy, and a 51% takedown defense. So, man, I'm a big numbers guy, yeah. The numbers are in phenomenal favor of Jimmy Crute here, and you go and watch the tape, and you just see Anthony Smith. He's not the same Anthony Smith we saw, 2, 3, 4 years ago. The damage is catching up on this guy, and I think Crute, this is a big fight for him. This is going to be the toughest fight of his career by a decent margin, you could say, and it's a huge name. So yeah, huge fight for Crute. I'm sure he's coming in here very prepared, and I like him to win. I think he can win pretty much in all aspects of this fight. I think he can hurt Anthony Smith on the feet. If if it's not working out on the feet, I think he can take Anthony Smith down and kind of implement that Alexander Rakic game plan where Rakic took down Smith for 3 rounds, laid on top of him. I think Crute can do the same thing here. So I'm going to take Jimmy Crute to win. I'm going to take him to win by second round knockout, second round TKO. Smith has been finished in the majority of his losses. Like I said, 13 out of 16. And Crute, he's a finisher. This guy's a beast. Could Anthony Smith pull the upset? Maybe. I don't know. It's just hard to see him. How's he going to beat him? A submission? I mean, Crute's a black belt. Is he going to knock out Crute? I just don't see it. Give me Crute here to win by dominant fashion in the second round. I'm going to say second round knockout. Should be a very fun fight. And like I said, it's going to be the biggest win of Crute's career if he does indeed get Anthony Smith out of there. So give me Jimmy Crute for the win. And yeah, really looking forward to that fight. Very good fight to start off the card. All right, now we have Uriah Hall going against Chris Weidman. Fun fight, rematch. Weidman got Hall in the first fight. It was prior to the UFC. And both guys are 36 years old. Hall is 36, 6 foot, 79.5 inch reach, going to have a 2-inch height disadvantage, going to have a 1.5 inch reach advantage. He is 16-9 and 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Chris Weidman, 36 years old as well. He's actually the older fighter by like a month. I think he's turning 37 in June. Double check that. I don't know, but I think he's turning 37 in June. And then we have Weidman is 15-5, and he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. So we'll get into the stats a little bit, but first we'll check the odds, and very close fight according to the odds here, and I can definitely see why. We have Chris Weidman, slight favorite, -115, opened up -105, Uriah Hall, slight dog at -105, -115 he opened up. So yeah, very slight favor Weidman here, pretty much a pick 'em. On some sites you have Uriah Hall as a -130, Uriah Hall as -110, so pretty much a pick 'em here, and I definitely see why. I mean, just taking a look at the fight, this is a fight Weidman probably should win. It's just not the same Weidman we've seen. The guy has taken a ton of damage. He's 15-5, all 5 of those losses coming by knockout. And what is Hall very good at? Very good at getting knockouts. This guy has a ton of power, and maybe you don't like the game of Hall all that much. I'm not a big fan of it. Very low volume, only 3.34 significant strikes. But when he does land, he lands extremely hard. I mean, the guy has a ton of knockdowns in the UFC, and I bet on Chris Weidman in his last fight, and I was cringing every single time this guy got into an exchange, and he did win the fight. But just going back and watching the fight, I was not impressed that much with Chris Weidman against Amari Akhmedov, and Akhmedov did touch his chin a little bit. I mean, Akhmedov was not able to put him away, but I think if Hall lands those same shots, Weidman's probably going down. And you take a look at the fight, the Akhmedov fight, and it's the first fight that he won since 2017 when he beat Kelvin Gastelum. And Akhmedov in that fight, there was like 2 minutes left in the first round. Akhmedov was breathing extremely heavy. Akhmedov was tired. And then you see Weidman at the end of the first round, start of the second round. He was tired himself. He was gassed himself. He was, very labored in his striking. And Akhmedov was even more tired. And this was just a sloppy fight. Chris Weidman was able to dig deep after getting beaten in that second round, take down Akhmedov in that third round. And Akhmedov had nothing to offer. The guy was just so tired. I think Hall has a much better gas tank than Akhmedov, and if his cardio is not on point in this fight, I think Hall is going to knock him out at some point. I think Weidman probably has success in that first round. He probably does take down Hall, maybe control him. I don't think he's going to submit Hall or nothing like that. Hall has a pretty solid takedown defense, sitting at 69%. Hall has never been submitted as well. All 4 of his losses are by knockout, 5 by decision. I don't know. I see this going really either way. If you think that if his chin's going to hold up, he's probably the side. But I just see Hall catching him at some point. Not a fight I'd really bet. If you're going to bet it, maybe take a look at the props. Maybe Hall by knockout, because that's how he wins. Maybe Weidman by decision. It's just Hall's going to have 15 minutes to touch that chin. And if Weidman did not shore up that cardio, I think the dude's getting knocked out for sure. Like, that was a really bad look. Yes, he got past Akhmedov, who was a lot more gas than him, but I don't think Hall is going to gas at all or as bad as Akhmedov, not even close to it. So I'm going to take Hall to win by third round knockout. I think Weidman's going to have some early success. I just think at some point Hall is going to find the chin and put out Weidman for the 6th time in his career. The chin is just not there. The durability is not there. The striking defense didn't look that there against Akhmedov. Akhmedov was tagging him up. But Akhmedov was more than too tired to put him away. So give me Uriah Hall to win by third round knockout. Really looking forward to that fight. All right, now we're going to get into the first title fight here at flyweight. We have Valentina Shevchenko going against Jessica Andrade. In a fight that I'm really looking forward to, we have Shevchenko, is 33 years old, 5'5", 65.5-inch reach, 20-3, 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Jessica Andrade, she is 29 years old, 5'1", going to be at a 4-inch height disadvantage. 62-inch reach, she's going to be at a 3.5 reach disadvantage. 21-8 and 3-2 in the last 5 fights. Those 2 losses coming to Rose Namajunas and Zhang Weili. Not bad losses to have there. And we'll get into the numbers a little bit. The numbers are interesting. But first, we'll take a look at the odds. Valentina opened at -380, currently -390. Andrade opened up +290, currently +320. So I do expect the line to, probably get wider as the fight week goes on. I think a lot of people are going to be putting Shevchenko into the parlays, but we'll take a look at the stats. And the stats are very interesting here. Andrade lands a ton, 6.38 significant strikes per minute. But with that, she gets hit a ton. She absorbs 5.26 with a strike differential ratio of 1.2 1.12. So that means she's landing 1.12 significant strikes more than her opponents per 15 minutes. And you'd think with landing 6.38 strikes, you'd think that your strike differential ratio would be a lot higher than that. But no, she's very, very hittable. 53% striking defense, which is not all that great. You got Shevchenko, who only lands 2.98, but she only absorbs 2.03 with a strike differential ratio of plus 0.95. And it's interesting. And then you take a look at the grappling stats. Andrade does land 3.11. Shevchenko does land 2.21. Both have very good takedown defenses. Shevchenko 75%, Andrade 76%. Take a look at their losses. Shevchenko has one, I guess you can technically call it a KO loss. It was, way earlier in her career where I believe it was where she did quit. I don't want to say quit the fight, but I think it was like a corner stoppage, something like that. But it was like really early in her career. And then you have Jessica Andrade, who has lost 5 of her 8 fights by stoppage, 3 by knockout, 2 by submission. And it's a fascinating fight because you take a look at the numbers and you think, like, why is Jessica Andrade a plus 300 dog? And then you dig into the fight a little bit, and especially in the bigger cage, and this is something we have to mention, we're going to be back into the bigger cage, and I think the bigger cage definitely does favor Shevchenko here. I think she's going to be able to stay to the outside. Andrade is going to be coming forward, trying to knock out Shevchenko. Shevchenko, very good chin. She's very good at, outpointing her opponents from the outside, and Andrade is just so hittable. I think, the jab's going to be there all day. I think she can easily piece up Andrade. Shevchenko, very good cardio as well. And what's interesting is going to be the grappling of Andrade, the takedowns of Andrade, because we did see in Shevchenko's last fight where she was taken down, which is not a great look. But you got to take a look at, Maya's pretty big for the division. I think Andrade is like a way smaller, 5'1", 62-inch reach. Maya is, let's see what Maya is. Maya has a 64-inch reach, and she's 5'4", but she's like a lot thicker as well. So I don't know, maybe Andrade can get her down a couple times, but even then, like Shevchenko, very good takedown defense. Her grappling is legit. And I don't know, I feel like it could be somewhat close, but I think over the duration of the fight, Shevchenko's just going to pick her apart so much, maybe find a late finish as well. It's hard to see Andrade finishing Shevchenko if Amanda Nunes wasn't able to do it. I'm not sure that, Andrade is going to be able to do it as well. And, speaking of that, when Valentina is losing, she's losing to Amanda Nunes. I mean, she is, some people call her the women's MMA GOAT. I'll call her runner-up women's MMA GOAT, right behind a Nunes there. But yeah, I like Shevchenko here. Andrade, somebody with 8 losses, somebody that lost to Zhang Weili, not a bad loss, somebody that lost to Rose Namajunas. Give me Shevchenko here to outpoint Andrade for 25 minutes or maybe a late finish as well. But it should be a fun fight. I think it's going to be one of the more competitive fights that Shevchenko has had since probably the Joanna fight, the Nunes fight. But yeah, it should be somewhat competitive. But I do think in hindsight, Shevchenko probably does warrant that minus 400 price tag for sure. But give me Shevchenko. I'm going to say she wins by, I'll say like a 5th round TKO victory for Valentina Shevchenko. All right, this fight I'm really looking forward to. We have Zhang Weili going against Rose Namajunas. Zhang Weili, she is 31 years old, 5'4", 63-inch reach, 21-1. Her first loss, I believe, was like the very first fight of her career. I think she's on like a 20-fight win streak. Obviously, 5-0 in her last 5 fights. Rose Namajunas, she is 28 years old, 5'5", 65-inch reach, 9-4, 4-1 in her last 5 fights. Yeah, this is one of the more highly debated fights out there this week. We have Zhang Weili opened up minus 170, currently minus 200. We have Rose Namajunas opened up plus 140, currently plus 170. So some money is coming in on Zhang Weili here. And we'll get into the stats a little bit. So, yeah, a little bit of these Weili stats are a little bit skewed because of that Joanna fight. That Joanna fight was absolutely crazy. One of the best fights I've ever seen. But she does land 6.38 significant strikes per minute, 45% accuracy. She does absorb 4.43, which, again, is a little bit skewed from the Joanna fight. She does have a significant strike differential ratio of 1.95. That means she's outlanding her opponents on average of 1.95 significant strikes. Does have a 53% striking defense. You take a look at Rose, a little bit less output, landing 4.13, 40% accuracy. She does absorb 3.98 with a 0.15 significant strike differential ratio. And that means she's outlanding her opponents on average by 0.15 strikes per minute. 60% defense. We'll take a look at the grappling stats, and I don't think we're going to see much grappling in this fight. I don't think we're going to see, many exchanges on the ground. You'd have Rose Namajunas, who does land about a takedown, almost 2 takedowns per minute, 1.91 with a 53% accuracy, 50% takedown defense from Rose. And then you have Zhang Weili, who averages about 1.26 takedowns per 15 minutes, 23% accuracy, 100% takedown defense from Weili's Zhang Weili, and I think that's going to be key in this fight. I don't really see Rose getting down Zhang Weili. You see that 100% number right next to her name, and then, she's so strong. She is so strong. I find it really hard for Rose to, get her down in this fight. So I think it's primarily going to stay standing. I think if anything, maybe Zhang Weili can mix in takedowns at the end of the round to maybe seal off a round. I think she can do that, but for the most part, it's going to be standing in this fight. And as far as the fight goes, it's an interesting fight. We're going to be back in the bigger cage, like I mentioned in the last fight. I do think that does favor the Rose side. It's just there's a little bit of red flags with Rose for me, especially in this fight against Zhang Weili, somebody that hits extremely hard. And you take a look at Rose's last fight against Jessica Andrade. She was looking very good, especially earlier in that fight, but you do see her really slow down in that fight, and then Jessica Andrade, wins that third round pretty convincingly. I was, kind of scared that Andrade was going to get a late finish there, but she did outland Rose 27-20 in that fight, and that's a huge red flag to me. I mean, slowing down in the third round is a huge red flag to me, because is she going to slow down in the third round of this fight, in a 5-round fight? If she does, I think she's in a world of trouble against Zhang Weili, who can go we saw a full 5 rounds, no problem. And, I think we're going to see, honestly, the best version of Zhang Weili. I saw an interview with her coach, and her coach is saying, Zhang Weili is looking a lot better than she did in the Joanna fight. And I thought she looked good in the Joanna fight. I thought she looked good in the Andrade fight. If we are going to see the best Zhang Weili we've ever seen, I think that's a pretty terrifying thing. But yeah, I like Zhang Weili in this fight. I know a lot of people are going to be picking Rose. It's just, Rose probably has some success early on. But as the fight goes on, I think the power of Zhang Weili is really going to add up. The damage is going to add up. And if you slow down against Zhang Weili, I do think you're going to get finished. And if there was, another 2 rounds against Andrade in her last fight, Andrade probably either finishes her or wins a decision. So I'm going to take Zhang Weili to break Rose Namajunas throughout the duration of the fight and get a late stoppage win. And I like Zhang Weili quite a bit. I don't think Rose is going to take down Weili. I don't think Weili is going to have to worry about that. If she tries, it's only going to expend energy on Rose, so maybe she does try. And as far as I see people saying that Rose is going to knock Zhang Weili out, I don't know where that came from. Rose has 1 knockout win in 13 fights. I don't think she's some murderous power puncher. The power advantage clearly goes to Zhang Weili. I don't know how we can argue that, but I'm going to take Zhang Weili. Maybe she loses the first round. Maybe she loses the second round. But I think, rounds 3, 4, and 5 are going to clearly go to Zhang Weili. And I think I can see her getting a late finish as well. But give me Zhang Weili for a 5th round knockout. All right. That kind of felt like the main event, honestly. I'm really looking forward to the Zhang Weili and Rose Namajunas fight. Then we have this one, Kamaru Usman going against Jorge Masvidal, which is a good fight, don't get me wrong. I'm just more excited for the Weili-Rose fight. We have Jorge Masvidal rematch here against Kamaru Usman, where in the first fight, Masvidal came in on a week's notice. This time he's going to have a full camp ready to go. But Kamaru Usman, he's 33 years old, 6 foot, 77.5-inch reach, 18-1, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Jorge Masvidal is 36 years old, 5'11", 73-inch reach, so going to be at a 1-inch height disadvantage and a 3.5-inch reach disadvantage, 35-14. So this is going to be his 50th fight. He is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. So we'll take a look at the odds and then we'll dig into the numbers a little bit. We have Kamaru Usman opened up minus 335, currently minus 420. Masvidal opened up plus 255, currently plus 335. So yeah, people are putting Usman into the parlays. I do expect it to get wider and wider as the fight goes on. And we'll take a look at the stats here a little bit. Kamaru Usman does land 4.66 significant strikes per minute, 54% accuracy. He does absorb only 2.33 with a fantastic positive plus 233 significant strike differential ratio. That means he's outlanding his opponents by 2.33 strikes per minute, which is fantastic. 58% striking defense. As far as Jorge Masvidal, Lands 4.2 significant strikes per minute, 47% accuracy, does absorb 3, and a positive strike difference ratio of 1.2. 65% strike and defense. So we'll get into the grappling stats, and this is where I think is going to be key for the fight. Kamaru Usman does land 3.22 takedowns per 15 minutes, 47% takedown accuracy, 100% takedown defense for Usman, and Jorge Masvidal does average about 1.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. I'd be completely shocked if he even tried to take down Usman here. But he does have a 77% takedown defense. Good takedown defense, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to stop the takedowns here from Kamaru Usman, full camp or not. And a lot of people don't like Kamaru. A lot of people think he's boring. If I can, I've already heard a ton of people say he's boring this week, and that's fine. I like boring fighters. I like fighters that go out there and implement their game plans and fight safe and want to get that win. I like guys like that. Those guys are moneymakers, and there's just some guys you don't bet against, like Kamaru Usman. You don't bet against him. Amanda Nunes, you don't bet against her. You don't bet against Shevchenko. You don't bet against John Jones. You don't bet against Khabib. There's just some fighters you don't bet against. I do put Kamaru Usman into that category, and there's always going to be people that pick against him each fight, bet against him each fight because the line is off. But I'm gonna keep betting this guy. I'm gonna keep betting some of the fighters I mentioned who just keep on winning up until they don't, which we don't know when that's going to happen. Somebody eventually is going to beat Kamaru Usman. I just don't think Jorge Masvidal is that guy. On the feet, could be a concern. Jorge Masvidal has a lot of power, obviously, especially finishing a lot of his fights as of late. Kamaru Usman has been subbed in his only loss. He's never been knocked out, but we did see him hurt by Gilbert Burns, which is not a great sign there. But Usman's going to come out here. He's going to fight smart. He's going to hold He's going to hold Jorge Masvidal up against the cage. He's going to foot stomp him. He's going to take him down. He's going to control him. He's going to grind him out. He's going to win a decision. I don't think he's going to finish Jorge Masvidal. Masvidal in 49 fights only been knocked out once. Don't think he's going to sub Jorge, but I do think Usman wins a pretty convincing decision. Maybe the first round could be close, but if Kamaru comes in here with the game plan of, I'm going to fight smart, I'm going to take him down, I'm going to hold him against the cage, which I do think he does, very good game plan. He doesn't care what people think. He doesn't care if he's going to get called boring, which he definitely will after this fight, but I do think he wins a pretty comfortable decision here. So give me Kamaru Usman for the win. I like him quite a bit. Solid parlay piece. As far as the line stands now, if it gets a little too crazy, probably not, but I do think he wins this fight the majority of the time. Just by, I guess you can call it being boring. Getting takedowns, holding him against the cage, foot stomps, people don't like it, but it gets wins. It gets wins, especially in a stylistic matchup like this where Masvidal could knock him out. I just don't think he's going to get many opportunities to do so. But yeah, guys, that's the card. I'll quickly go over my picks here. Kamaru Usman, Zhang Weili, Valentina Shevchenko, Uriah Hall, Jimmy Crute, Alex Oliveira, Dwight Grant, Brendan Allen, Pat Sabatini, Batgerel, Rong, Jeff Molina, Ariane Carnelossi. Those are the picks I'm going with. Make sure you guys tune into the live stream Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, going over my bets, final thoughts, weigh-ins, all the good stuff. Really do need to see the weigh-ins for this card. And then Saturday, 1 hour before the card starts, going to be going live, answering any final questions, just chatting it up with you guys. Please leave this video a like and also subscribe. If you're not subscribed yet, I'm going to be bringing a ton of new content that I'm going to be implementing into my weekly routine. Hopefully start doing that. Already have added some new stuff there. Check out the Patreon if you want to support me more. $10 a month. The betting tier is probably the most popular. You get my model with all the stats. We get the advanced stat model as well. My betting breakdown videos, early access to my bets, my article, access to Discord, tons of great stuff there. Other than that, that's about it, guys. So enjoy the card. Should be a really, really good one. I already have 7 bets for this card. Maybe add 1 or 2 more. But lots invested in this card. But it should be a good one. Like I said, I have no problem paying the $70 to watch this pay-per-view. The pay-per-view portion is fantastic. The prelims, maybe not the most notable names, but I do think they're going to be fun. And yeah, once again, guys, thank you for all the support. Just hit 300 Patreons. Just hit 10K subscribers a couple weeks ago, so really can't do that without you guys. Comment down the significant strikes. Comment down your DraftKings names. I'll get you guys into the contest. And good luck for UFC 261.